Hello. So for today's video, I'm going to do what I believe is a requirement of everyone who makes YouTube videos, which is to rank my top 10 favorite Disney animated movies. Just from the list, if you go to the Wikipedia page for Disney animated movies, um, there's a list of their feature films, animated features, and it was just drawing from that list, which I have officially seen all but two of, because on Friday last I watched Raya and the Last Dragon, just in case it made the list. It didn't rate as it was. Aquafina is my choice for the voice of Wishbone if they actually go through with that Wishbone movie, but I had to make sure. The movie right before that, uh, Frozen 2, haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't make the list anyway. I will eventually probably see it. And also Make Mine Music, which is the only one of those movies not on Disney+. It's one of those movies where Disney made a compilation of a bunch of small musical vignettes, like Peter and the Wolf, for instance, is one of them. And a caveat to that caveat, I have seen that movie, just not recently enough to judge it. It's probably the first Disney movie I ever saw because I have memories of it playing on the first TV that I remember ever seeing, which had buttons on the TV itself to go to different channels and had a dial. And I watched at least some parts of this movie on that screen. But so none of those, and I wouldn't include those. I'm only even considering narrative movies, so not Fantasia either of the Fantasias. But without further ado, and I'm not doing Pixar either. Pixar is its own thing, and it wouldn't be fair. So without further ado, my top 10, starting with the 10th favorite, Disney animated movies. The first one I don't have a prop for. It's Pinocchio, and one of the earliest, and also the one movie whose poster I had in my room. I don't typically have movie posters in any of my bedrooms that I've ever had, but there was a big Pinocchio poster for some reason in the room that I slept in when I was growing up. And it must have been for the 50th or 60th anniversary of the movie. It came out in, let me just look here, 1940. And so looking at that probably just made me at the time think, oh, this is my favorite Disney movie. And seeing it also was fun. It has, but then we rewatched it recently, The Malevolent Supernatural Force and I, and it's a lot of fun. It's got that whale, the dangerous whale sequence. It's got that weird turning children into donkeys thing. It's got just Pinocchio's a lot of fun. The cat and the goldfish, Geppetto's pets, they're a lot of fun. So, yeah, it made the list for that reason, but I don't have a prop here. I don't have it yet, but I will eventually hopefully find it on DVD. The first Disney movie that I got on DVD, again, used when I started deciding I'm never going to have Disney Plus, so I better find these movies on DVD. This was not one that I was specifically looking for. You can see it's got the fun, sparkly circle things there. But it is the first that I found. I found it the same time in the same place that I found Jaws. I bought them both in one fell swoop. And at the time I was really excited by that because I had recently failed to get a book published that was about a monster type thing that was a combination of Ariel and the shark from Jaws. And even though this wasn't one of the movies I was looking for, I was ultimately glad to get it. I didn't have this one on VHS growing up, which is a bummer for a couple of reasons. One, didn't get to see it frequently like I saw the others, and so I was always really curious about it, but also the version I would have had probably would have been that one with the controversial cover with the castle that looks inappropriate, and you can Google why. But the songs in this are great, and the animation is beautiful. I think it's the best looking of the Disney Renaissance movies, and I think it might have been the last one that was completely hand-drawn. Don't quote me on that, but I think that starting with the next one, they started using computers to help with the animation. But yes, The Little Mermaid, 9th favorite Disney animated movie. This is another one that I wasn't specifically looking for, in large part because it wasn't one of the ones that came out when I was growing up. I was aware of it, I'd seen it, I have memories of it, but it wasn't there when I was growing up. Or it wasn't released in theaters, I didn't see previews for it, etc. when I was growing up. But I had memory of it, And it's also the only Robin Hood movie that I really care to have on my DVD shelf. I think it's everyone's favorite Robin Hood movie, even though there are so many, and there are too many. But yeah, I found it and I thought this is one to have. And when I watched it, I thought it's actually quite good. I love, in particular, just animation-wise, the King's jewels, and this will come up in another of the movies too. But the way that Disney animates jewels and the way that they sparkle and the way they're shaped, also the gold coins, I loved how they were, and the snake character, very amusing. So a lot to recommend. Just all the pieces adding up to something quite special. And also Robin Hood is it's a great legend. And again, there are tons of versions, but this is the only one that I actually care to experience over and over again. This is the only one that I'm going to hold up. That is ranked among my favorites, but it is not officially part of my collection. I did buy it, but I bought it for the malevolent supernatural force I live with. I believe it is her very favorite Disney movie, Beauty and the Beast. Great songs. Jerry Orbach and Angela Lansbury doing voices. And it again looks nice, and the DVD is very pretty. It's Blu-ray. This one, it's in Blu-ray packaging, but it also has the DVD, which is why I got it, because we have a DVD player, or I wouldn't have bought this. And I have since found it on just DVD, and kind of wish that I got that just for. But again, it's not mine. It's not part of my collection. It is just one that I tracked down. Nice little story. The dancing, again, the music, the theatricality, they made it into a Broadway musical. That is a quality that I can really admire in a movie. And it almost won an Academy Award. So that's that one. Just let me make sure. Okay, next is this one, which I found the same day that I found that one, and I also found my number one choice. It is, of course, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it's another one, again, I wasn't looking for it. I didn't think this would be one of my favorites, but then I rewatched it, and it is beautiful. It's the very first Disney animated movie, and as far as animation quality, I like its quality of the hand-drawn stuff, hand-painted stuff. I don't think Disney has yet surpassed, made a movie that looks more beautiful than their very first. I love I remember from, I believe, my dad's twin brother for some holiday, must have been 1997, the 60th anniversary of the movie, gave us the VHS of the 60th anniversary VHS release, and that is my first memory of the movie. And it's got but I'd seen the mining when the dwarves are mining and dealing with the diamonds in the Disney sing-along videos, and I just loved those diamonds. I loved them back then. I don't love diamonds in real life, but I loved those animated diamonds and how they made sounds when they hammered on them. But the way that they sparkled, whether they were being held or moved or in the stone, I loved that animation. And I just want to say about there was a recent kerfuffle on Twitter about whether or not the prince should have kissed Snow White on her grave, and my position is yes, and here's why. It's not like some frat boy law student kissing a pass-out drunk classmate on a couch or a bed at a party. It's the prince. After a year after she, for all intents and purposes, has died, he has found her. The dwarves are mourning her. They put her in a glass casket, and the prince has found out that. And now, earlier in the movie, he does fall in love with her. She does fall in love with him. It happens unreasonably fast, but it does happen. That's part of the story. So they are in love, and then he loses her, she loses him. She doesn't seem too bothered by it for the rest of the movie, because she gets on very nicely with the dwarves, and they have fun together, and they could have just lived out their lives in that cabin all together, but the queen found out from the mirror that she was still alive, and the queen had to remedy that. But the prince, when he kisses her, is saying goodbye. He is mourning her, and he is paying tribute to her, and he is saying goodbye to someone who he loved. And I have done that. A lot of people have done that. It is not the weird thing that some people want to make it. It is a beautiful tribute. And he doesn't know it's going to wake her up. Nobody knows it's going to wake her up. So he's not thinking he's going to get anything out of this. and that is why it is different than the way it is being painted. But the way that it was painted in 1937 was very nice. It's a beautifully rendered movie. Let me just make sure before I go on. Okay, so the next one is one that I also don't have a prop for. I don't have it. And when I do have it, it'll probably come with its prequel, because it's the only sequel that is in, at least before Frozen 2, I think. It's the only sequel that is on the master list of Disney animated feature films, and that is The Rescuers Down Under, which is a sequel to The Rescuers, of course. The Rescuers is okay, but The Rescuers Down Under is amazing. In part because just the use of Australia, but in large part because of the animals. Now there's the Bob Newhart and Eva Gabor mice. They are fun, but there's also the John Candy albatross, which is a lot of fun, and but it's the non-speaking creatures, and I just want to say that the hunter is scary, but it's the non-speaking creatures who do have the voices are credited to them, but, or at least in one case, but they don't actually say words like the mice, at least not in my recollection. And those are the creepy, or no, that's a different lizard. So there's the creepy lizard that is the partner of the hunter, the poacher, who is voiced by George C. Scott. And he's got his lizard companion who doesn't speak, I don't think, maybe makes lizard noises, but he's a nice creepy thing. And then there's the giant eagle, the Marahuta is the name, and it's let's see, the eagle doesn't actually, it's not a golden eagle. It's a gold eagle, but it's not a golden eagle, the species that actually exists. It's a combination of species of eagle, but it's just a beautiful animal, and it's got a wonderful thing. And let's see, it says that Frank Welker voices the eagle, and also the lizard, and it says additional vocal effects. So I guess there is a voice credit to those animals, but they don't talk like the mice do and the albatross does. And I really love it's a whole big adventure. There's the kid is fun, and the kid flying with the eagle is great. And it's not one of the movies that gets a lot of attention like the others. So I just wanted to, well, it's not that I genuinely do love it, and so I wanted to include it in this list. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Okay, so the next two movies are virtually tied, but for reasons that I will get into, I put them in the specific order. But I don't tend to think of any things in actual lists. For the most part, things that I love are all tied together. I love them all equally. But for the purposes of the list, I have to put one before the other, and so in fourth place is Mulan, which is just overall great movie. I love the fact that even though she is included among the Disney princesses, she is not a princess. She's a girl on a farm, and she doesn't know what she aspires to. But then this thing comes up where she feels like she has to protect her father, and she decides to go become a soldier, go to war, pretend to be a man, and find that she's not good at it right away, but she figures it out in that wonderful training sequence to one of the better songs assigned to male Disney characters, "I'll Make a Man Out of You." Now, what the movie gets a lot of flack for is white people among the voice cast, especially Donny Osmond singing that song. But what it doesn't get enough credit for, and what I feel like gets way overshadowed by the fact that Donny Osmond sings that song, is that B.D. Wong does all the rest of Shang's part. He does the voice, and Shang only has the one song. So the rest of the movie is just speaking, and that's B.D. Wong, and it's a great performance. The character is not as much of a fish out of water as Mulan, but he's trying to impress his father. He's trying to be as great as his father is. He's got James Hong's character, the the bureaucrat type character breathing down his neck and mocking him, uh, and uh, and it just B.D. Wong's performance doesn't it gets unfairly overshadowed by the fact that Donny Osmond sings the song. Now B.D. Wong can sing, and he sings very well, and when he sings, he sounds a lot like Donny Osmond, which is probably why I didn't realize it was a different person singing the song for many years. But yeah, I guess something happened. Donny Osmond was brought in. Disney wanted to give him something. They gave him that song. It's a weird decision they made, but it doesn't mean that B.D. Wong isn't great in the rest of the movie, and that Pat Morita and James Hong, I mentioned, plays that bureaucrat character, the annoying one. Ming-Na Wen as Mulan. Singing voice, Leah Salonga. I hope I'm saying that right. She's a great singer. She also does Jasmine's voice in Aladdin. Singing voice, that is. Just a great, and of course Eddie Murphy as Mushu. Great story, great message, one of my favorites, and again, virtually tied with the next movie, which I don't have to hold up. For anyone who does, can't get over the fact that it's not an Asian man singing "I'll Make a Man Out of You" in the movie, there's always the Jackie Chan Cantonese version that is included as a music video on this DVD set, and it's also available on YouTube. I think it's Cantonese. But yes, that is also available, and he's doing martial arts during it, and it's really great. So I don't have the next one to hold up, but it's Tarzan. And the reason that Tarzan edged out Mulan is that Mulan is a great overall movie, but Tarzan has standout stuff, and one of the things that stands out for me is the soundtrack, and usually I'm not a big soundtrack person, but in this case I am, and it's just all great songs by Phil Collins, some of them better than others, and the two that I want to highlight, there are three I want to highlight. The first, just Trash in the Camp, there's the scat song that is headed up by Rosie O'Donnell as the voice of Turk, one of the standout performances for me for this movie, and one of the reasons that I wanted it. And then there's another version that he did with, I think, NSYNC, but I prefer the one done by Rosie. But then Two Worlds, which opens the movie and just establishes the world and the characters without them having to say a thing. Well, with one exception, the characters don't sing. I guess two exceptions, because Rosie sings Trash in the Camp and Glenn Close sings You'll Be in My Heart as Kala. For the most part, Two Worlds, Strangers Like Me, sung by Phil Collins, and then Son of Man is also sung by Phil Collins, but Two Worlds I really love, and then Strangers Like Me is great as well. And just I love those songs, I think, more than most other Disney songs, and that's one of the reasons it stands out. Rosie is a reason that it stands out, and it has a great voice cast. Wayne Knight as Tantor and Glenn Close as Kala. But the standout performance, again, another character who she's not even in the Princess Club, despite not being a princess like Mulan is. It's Jane, and she's voiced by Minnie Driver, and it is one of my very favorite voice performances in any Disney movie. It's just she's not a comedian, but you wouldn't know that. She's not like Eddie Murphy or Robin Williams, where she's a fast-talking comedian, and of course she riffs and she's hilarious. She's just an actor who got this part and really hits it out of the park. Every favorite line that I have in this movie, not every one, but most of my favorite moments in this movie are Minnie Driver's lines. And again, it's an animated character, so she's not even in control of what the character's going through or doing or looking like, but her voice goes perfectly with it. I guess I have to give the animators some credit for the character, but Minnie Driver's voice in this movie is just above and beyond so many other voices in so many other movies. Tarzan as a story is fine. It's not as interesting as Mulan, which is why, again, these movies each have their things that lend them their charms, and it's virtually impossible to rank. But for Minnie Driver and the soundtrack, I just edged Tarzan above. Last two, I think this is probably, this being my number 2 is probably the most typical of all of the choices that I made. But again, Leah Salonga singing Jasmine's song. Leah Salonga's great voice. But Aladdin's song, which she shares with Jasmine, I guess, A Whole New World, one of my favorite Disney songs that sounds like a Disney song. Like the Phil Collins songs sound like Phil Collins songs. When I say a Disney song, it's kind of like my saying a musical theater song. It doesn't sound like a pop song, even though I guess it was released as a pop song and can work as a pop song, but it sounds like a Disney song, and it's one of my favorite, one of the best Disney songs assigned to a male character primarily, because he's leading that scene. And then the Genie's got some songs too, and they are great, and Robin Williams is great. Even though the story of Aladdin and the Lamp and the Genie probably just made up by, I guess, the French translator of 1001 Nights, it's still a fun story that I really like, and I really like this movie. And this is one that I was specifically looking for. It, Mulan, Tarzan, and Lilo and Stitch are the ones that I was specifically looking for myself, my own collection. Yes, this is a classic. It's got some sparkly diamonds in it too. Gilbert Gottfried as Iago, wonderful, unforgettable. Yeah, and I already mentioned it. I already gave away Lilo and Stitch. I found it still factory wrapped alongside Beauty and the Beast and Snow White. That was a good day of DVD shopping. That was my first, I think, venture back out during the pandemic to see, well, maybe I can look at some DVDs and find some DVDs. And, oh, look, these 3 Disney DVDs. That was a good day. Adorable title characters, great supporting characters. But one of the things that makes the movie my top Disney animated movie is because it's the Disney animated version of E.T., which is my overall top movie. It's a broken family that's trying to get stitched back together. An alien comes to Earth, brings them all together, but unlike E.T., who doesn't actually do any damage to the family before the resolution of the movie, Stitch comes in like a wrecking ball and almost gets Lilo taken away by the caseworker, and even though it turns out, well, caseworker should have known better is all I'll say without spoiling the end of the movie. But it's the music, it doesn't have a traditional Disney score. It uses traditional Hawaiian music and Elvis music. And Elvis, I guess, spent a lot of time making movies in Hawaii or something along those lines. I haven't seen many of Elvis's movies. But it's just a sweet movie. It's a hilarious movie. I don't know any of the voice actors' names, and I like that because they're just doing fun things. It's just a very sweet, very uplifting movie. So I will leave it at that, even though I should have the most to say about my very favorite. All I really have to say is that it's the best. So that's that for that. I depending on how quickly I can read, I do have ideas for the next. Tomorrow I will be reading from a book in my video, but from then on, there's an idea that I want to do. Depending on how fast I can read, I will do successfully, and I hope to do that, and you'll see what it is. But in the meantime, Ohana.